Welcome to the Influencers in Accounting podcast. Rob Brown here, and on behalf of the Accounting Influencers Podcast Network, we devote Wednesdays to special guests that have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, gone through the journey, and they've got life experiences and expertise to share. And I'm thrilled to have with me today, all the way from New Jersey, it's Yuri Kapilovich. Hello to you.
Hey, how are you, Rob? How you doing?
We're great. You're a CPA, you run your own firm, but you've got an interesting story, and we're going to dip into that, Yuri. But just give us a quick 60 seconds, if you can, of your story so we know where we're at right now.
Sure. So quick 60-second story. I was born in Minsk, Belarus, moved to Israel, lived in Israel for 11 years, moved to the United States at the age of 13, pivotal age, kids looking at you funny because you got a different accent and everything, assimilated to that. Went to school, wanted to always be in business. Accounting gravitated towards that for my first tax class, really into high net worth taxes, the 1040s, all that stuff. Then got into the working world and was thrown off. So I, started working for Ernst & Young, crazy hours and all of that in Miami. Then I came back to New Jersey, where I was originally from. And I worked there every year and a half consistently. I was quitting my job and switching firms. Seven firms in total. And I realized that it was time to go out on my own and launched, with a different brand. And that brand difference is the fact that I am a fun CPA, as you can see with my hashtag. I have a personality and I take care of the people first, man. And that to me is number one. So taking all of that high net worth knowledge that I've learned over the years, working on $80 to $100 million a year clients, that's what they made, taking that knowledge down to what I do now. 5 million and below in gross revenue, personal, personable, and fun.
That's about 60 seconds, but you did really well to keep it that short because there's such a lot in there. Yuri, take us back to you as a teenager. You said you had a hankering for the numbers in the account. Was it obvious what you wanted to be back then?
It wasn't so obvious. And interestingly enough, I wanted to be in finance originally. When I was in college, one of my grades before applying to business school, 2 years before business school, then 2-year business school was the program. Before business school, I was applying to it. One of my grades, I got an A, but he gave me a C because he mixed me up with another student. That dropped my GPA low enough that I didn't apply and didn't qualify for any business school at all, any major, let alone finance. Finance was the highest. So I'm like, what am I going to do? So I battled to get the grade fixed. By the time I got it fixed, finance was closed. Yeah. Accounting was the only thing open. So let's go accounting. Jumped into accounting, and the rest is history. I really enjoyed it.
What was your first job? What was your first paying job? Was it a paper round or selling lemonade on the street corner? Where did you get your first bit of money?
Have you ever seen, I don't know if they have this in the UK, but there's like these little stands in the malls that sold back in the day cell phone accessories. Okay. So back in the day when you had the light up face plates, the light up antennas, all that was my very first job, 15 years old, cash. I used to make $1,300 a week doing that.
That's insane.
I was hustling people. Actually, the cops called on me once in the mall because I apparently was too aggressive. But that, and after that, I actually tried to do my own thing, selling cell phone plates out of my house. Ordered a bunch to my parents' house, tried to do it with friends, family, whatever. But that was somewhat short-lived.
But clearly, you had an entrepreneurial streak back then. What would lead you down a career path where you would then be employed and beholden to the corporate giant and wanting that pound of flesh and everything else and being somebody else's boss?
It's interesting you say that. I think it's my parents, Eastern European, classic.
Expectations, right?
Computer programmers. You must go to school. Now, school was always an option for me. So I don't want to make it sound like I was just this crazy hustler that never thought, school was very important to me. I knew I had to go to school for something relevant. But to get that first job and keep sticking it out in there with 7 firms, I think that mentality was a parental mentality of you must work at a place, grow with a place and be an employee. And seeing them, that's how they were too.
Take us to that big job at Ernst & Young. It could be any big firm, and you've been to a few, but you must have felt like, I've landed, this is it, this is my career, I'm in the big books, it takes off from here.
Yeah. I think honestly, I loved my Ernst & Young experience, EY. I was in Miami. different feel, different vibe.
Yeah.
Certainly different vibe from New York City. I was talking to people in New York City, and a senior was complaining to me that staff were not staying until 1 a.m. like they are. And I'm like, 1 a.m. Are you kidding? How can you possibly work until 1 a.m.? It was crazy to me. But that was the complaints where, in Miami, it was a little bit more relaxed. I was still working 70 hours a week during tax season, but all around that was a little more chill. We went out, 2-hour lunches, beers, everything. Just had a really great time.
So you're living the dream there. So when did things start to change for you?
They started to change, honestly, I think when I moved back to New Jersey and I got more of that Northeast mentality. I think somehow attitude. I think somehow in my life, I gravitated towards like an Eastern European, Latin American feel mentality for my career and how I want to be seen. I'm not all about working. I want to, I work to live is what I always have to get that right. I work to live. I want to have a lifestyle. I want to be able to be there for my kid. I want to be able to be there for my wife. And, I also at the same time, I want to make that money, but I'm not chasing millions of dollars. I don't need that. I want a nice, comfortable life where, I can be there, whatever that entails.
And the questions that you're asking yourself at this point are probably what many accountants are at the moment. We talk about the big resignation and that quiet quitting is a new phrase of just doing the minimum to get by. I don't want to do 60, 70 hours a week anymore. So talk us through this change then. You started skipping firms. You're looking for some work-life balance, some meaning, some purpose. Talk to us about that journey a little bit, Yuri.
Yeah. Most importantly, I think I was looking for a firm that focused on people first.
Okay.
I was looking for a place that prioritized the staff just like I did. And in my experience, in my whole journey, no matter how much pressure I was getting from above, from the partners, I was always the stopping point. The staff will never experience, the harshness, if you will, that was coming down on me. From me, I was stopping it. Like, for example, if a staff asked me, hey, can I work from home before COVID? Hey, can I work from home? Absolutely, you can work from home. I don't care where you are, just get the job done. And in that same breath, that same day, I was getting an email and harassing phone calls from the partners saying, hey, where's that staff? And I said, they're at home. You let them be at home. Yeah, let them be at home. I don't really care where they are. They're doing the job. And that old school mentality is what I was battling in my whole career. So, that is what I was kind of trying to change.
So when you say looking after the people, you're talking about a culture there that puts the staff first and in the hope that they'll put the clients first and everyone's happy. But so many cultures these days, you're hinting at this, is that it's all about the job and the billable hours and the culture and staying there, keeping your jacket over the chair and presenteeism, they call it, don't they?
Yeah. And, the whole hours mentality, I mean, I can get into that for a long time, for the whole duration of the show. But I will tell you that, yes, if you take care of the people first, they're going to go tenfold on you and give you the value, and they're going to enjoy what they're doing. I do think that the billable hour pressure that we have in the industry is crushing staff into, not enjoying it, right? You're getting to talk to millionaires. And I mean that sincerely. You're getting to talk to millionaires. You're getting to see different things every single day. You're experiencing different clients every single day. And that's not something that anybody in many other professions can say that they do. And that's what I enjoyed the most about it. Exposure to many different people, many different types of returns, challenging, but the hours, the constant pressure of the billable hours, where it was never enough. 70 hours I was working. If my coworkers or, coworkers were working 80, I was told, hey, they're working 80, you're working 70. That's not enough. It didn't matter. And that was the problem, right? They're going to crush someone. Who's going to enjoy that?
And is there an expectation with the politics and the power struggles and the career path and partner, and you've got to do more of this kind of stuff that you didn't want to do to get to where you want to be?
Yeah, absolutely. To get to a partner's position in any firm, but especially in the bigger firms, you obviously have to be bringing in a book of business of a certain caliber. But not just that, it's not all objective. There's subjectivity to it. And the subjectivity is, so-and-so could think that you're not a team player, or especially with this hour stuff.
Yeah.
Especially me, because I'm always very vocal and I will make those waves. And I did, and when I would make those waves, people didn't like that, because the accounting industry is not meant for, people who have like a personality and fight back, right? So I'm sure I wouldn't have made partner as quickly as anybody promised me, right? Because somebody would have been upset or offended by something that I said, and I wouldn't have gotten the position. It's that simple.
And I've not known you too long, but you're a very passionate, outspoken guy. And when you're in a corporate professional services environment like that, you've got to toe the line. You've got to keep your mouth shut. You've got to keep your head down.
Yep. You've
got to agree with people. You've got to play the politics game. And I guess you figured out after going to a few firms that was never going to happen for you.
Yeah. And I tried. I really gave it a whole valiant effort. I would have this. It's funny. It's 6-month periods, like I said to you before. Year and a half, I was at every single one of these firms after EY.
Yeah. So you gave it a shot.
I gave it a shot for a year and a half. First 6 months, honeymoon period is consistent, literally every single firm. I'm like happy. I'm like, this is it. I found the spot. Next 6 months, I'm seeing all the issues yet again, same freaking issues that I had in the other firm, right? And then I'm like, okay, that's annoying. And then the next 6 months is that like, just ramp up of my annoyances. And then I quit.
Did you, in your 7 firms, were the big firms, small firms, medium firms, did you think that size might be affecting the culture of what you're experiencing?
I thought I jumped around all the sizes. I was big 4 all the way down to a small 100-person firm, regional only one office in New Jersey, and back up. So yeah, I mean, I thought that going down in size would help. It didn't. I thought that after I went down in size, oh man, I thought, oh, I made a mistake. Let me go back up in size. Went again up in size, and again, it didn't help. So it was just all the same. It was the same story in every place.
So it's not so much about the size of firm. 100-person firm is still big. There are many that are smaller than that. But you found out then that it wasn't so much how many offices you have or how big the firm is, but it's the culture that is set by the leaders on high.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the top, what's the tone at the top, as it's called, and that being pushed down on.
But how much is it on the leaders, Yuri, and how much is it on the profession itself that this is what's expected when you become a CPA or an accountant? This is the deal. You sign up for it. You're here for 40 years. You make some big money, but you pay for it in other ways.
You are 100% right. I mean, it is an industry thing, and that's a big thing of what I'm trying to change, one post at a time. I always say it. But it's true. I mean, the industry as a whole is a grind. If anybody going to industry now into the CPA world, and this, by the way, I think is part of the CPA pipeline issues that we're seeing, right? Because a staff right now can get access to Reddit. They can get access to Twitter, to things that we did not have when I was going to school, to find out really what it's like to be in the accounting world. The moment you hop on Reddit, I think you're turned off from the accounting industry. All it's, high hours, mean people, let's just say, without using expletives, and just an environment that doesn't foster anything pleasant. Again, no work-life balance, all that stuff. People are reading that. People are reading the horror stories and saying, yeah, I'm going to go into like management or something, or I'm going to flip some gorilla NFTs and make $1 million. I mean, the options are somewhat endless. But accounting is certainly not on the top of the list.
Yeah. My co-host Martin Bissett and I have spoken on our Tuesday show, which is Insights in Accounting. We comment on the news, and we've seen articles of the hemorrhage of people coming out of accounting, going into business, going into commerce, going into industry, not into private or public practice, as you would call it, because the expectations are a little bit different. But take us back to your final firm before you decided that this was the end of the road and something radical needed to change.
Yeah, it's interesting, and a lot of it, again, as I said, there's a lot of moving parts. My spouse has to do with it and everything, and I was unhappy. I mean,
you got a kid at this point, right?
I have a kid. Yeah, he was 3.5 then.
So there's a lot more than you just to consider here, isn't it?
Way more. And again, in the US, the health insurance is just tragic. I mean, it's really not a good look here, because that is I would argue that is 90% of the preclusion from self-employment in this world. Wow. Not as well, but in this country. Why? Because I'll give you an example. My premiums when I was at the companies, working W-2 job, my health insurance premium that I was paying a month after the company paid for it, like $500 a month. Pretty decent plan, great. A similar plan to now I'm on my own and I'm not through a company. First of all, I have to research the crap out of it. When I finally find one, $1,700 a month.
Wow.
And that was a garbage plan. So if you want a good plan for the family, which is important, kids, you know, they get sick, daycare, blah, 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 you know, a good plan, $2,000, $2,200, let's even call it $2,000. You have to make $24,000 a year just to cover health insurance.
We have the NHS in England, the National Health Service, which is ostensibly a free health service, but you pay for that in your national insurance and your taxes and everything else. So they get you one way or the other. There is private medical insurance here if you want it at a premium to cut the waiting lines and everything else. But it's a major consideration that a lot of people wouldn't really think about, that you've got so many costs to cover when you go out on the road that are covered by the security and safety of a 9-to-5 or 7-to-7 job you're doing with a big firm. Yeah.
Yeah. So to go back to that, you know, to that moment, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, okay, like I really got to make a change. I got to get out of here. By the way, I had about $15,000 on the side.
I was going to ask you if you had a little pot.
I did. Yeah, I had about maybe 15 clients. I was very selective in who I took on the side. And I said to myself, when I hit $50,000 in side hustle money, no matter where I was in my career path, if I hit 50,000, I'm out, because I would then quit in November from my job, you know, W-2 job. I would have about a month to get my stuff together. And then I would have that busy season where I would get $50,000. And I said, great. Because why? Because $50,000 will carry me, you know, with my savings down to until I figured out what I was going to do.
Okay. So let me just clarify for the listeners. Sure. You're in a full-time job and you were starting to take on accounting clients on the side.
Yes.
Where you found the time for that, I have no idea, but you did. So you're building that up, because normally people would think, right, I've got to quit my job on day X, and then day X plus 7 or X plus 30 days, I am out on my own. So you save a pot of 30, 40, 50,000 if you can to tide you over until you build up a client base, but you're already thinking ahead. So you're up and running to a degree.
That's right. That's right. And again, I thought to myself, if I hit $50,000 in total business that I have on the side, I'm good, because it'll carry me through, you know, past April 15th is the deadline. So I would get all my $50,000 by April and I'll figure out the rest. That was the idea. It didn't work out to be that way though.
Why didn't it work out?
So what happened was, it's very difficult. As you said, even $15,000 of side hustle money is a lot of time. I'm answering phones on top of my own main job. I'm also answering phones for my side clients. And it was just getting to be a lot. I was probably working 70 hours in my main job, in addition to another 10, 15 hours a week on my side hustle over the weekends, so on and so forth. It was just practically impossible to ever get to that 50. And I'm battling. So I thought, you know what? An opportunity came about. One of my friends who was looking to kind of exit his own accounting firm or sell off about $100,000 worth of work. Nice. I said, perfect. He was a nice guy. Really, we got along pretty well. I said, all right, let's do it. I'm going to buy $100,000 of your work. That's going to guarantee me $100,000. And I'm good with 100,000, you know, I'll make it work, and I'll increase that. So I said, great. The story behind that is we started talking about it, you know, we're talking to some of those clients. By the way, he was in a partnership. I can imagine you can see where this is going. So we're, you know, going, and I give notice. I gave 3-week notice because I wanted to stretch out that time, give myself a little extra. The firm was, you know, ecstatic, saying 3 weeks. Wow, that's amazing. But I mean, it was somewhat self-driven. And I, you know, self-motivated. And I said, okay, all right, let's get it. We're going to sign, you know, there's no agreement, by the way. So I gave notice, 3 weeks. 5 days later, I get a message from him that he's being sued by his partner because he found out that he was going to give $100,000 worth of work that does not belong to him. It belongs to the partnership. And now I'm going, oh, crap. So what am I going to do now? You know, I mean, I already gave notice. I'm not taking that back. Although, trust me, multiple times in those 3 weeks, I was going to do it.
Yeah.
So then I went back and I said, all right, you know what, let's do this. Let me, you know, go and contract for the same firm. Let me handle the same clients that I was handling. I'll take 20 hours a week. It'll guarantee me a steady flow of you know, monthly income to keep the lights on, so to speak, as I grow my practice. You know, initially they said, no problem. On the very last day, they said, give me your laptop. You're not doing any of that. And I said, well, oh, okay. You know, and they said, maybe next week or a week after that, we'll get back to you. And, you know, I never heard from them again, but it was like a drag on. And I'm thinking, okay, just tell me no. If it's a no, it's a no. But it wasn't really an official no until they just stopped talking to me at all completely. And but anyway, so long story short, I ended up finding another firm. And one of the benefits that I always say, I stuck it out this long in public accounting. And even though maybe I wasn't as happy about it, I'm so thankful that I did. And the reason for that is because I would not have had the connections. I would not have had the knowledge and the ability to say, look, I got 10 plus years in public accounting and the largest firms hire me as a contractor because of my knowledge. And the moment I said that, I was able to get something because they saw my background, they saw my resume, and it was no problem. So we did that, found a firm, still working with them. They're phenomenal, really great, giving me 10 to 20 hours a week. And it's helping me out tremendously in my own practice as I grow it. And they understand that it's a symbiotic relationship. And, I'm building my business. I'm happily helping them. Everybody is happy.
How is life different now at home, Yuri, with the brave decision you've made to jump from big to you?
That's a great question. It's challenging. It's challenging in many ways in the sense of now, before when you're employed, you have a structure to your day, somewhat. Safety, security, a structure, routine. Routine. Exactly. I'm clocking in at 9 o'clock. I'm leaving at 5, 5 o'clock. There's less expectation of me to be around outside of busy season. Now it's a free for all. I mean, my work day now, I will be very clear. I don't, my goals are not to work 70 hours. I'm not doing this to work 70 hours. I work 40 hours a week tops. My staff, the folks that are going to be, and I'm looking to hire full-time probably by the end of this year, to bring on my account. My staff will not be working 50, 60 hours a week. That's just not going to happen. That's not what I'm building. And so, now I'm having a great time. I was on the boat most of the summer, just hanging out, really doing a lot of this marketing stuff that we chatted about offline, podcasting, really exploring what I want to do in the industry that makes it fun.
You come out the other side. Not everyone does in let's say jumping ship from being employed to being self-employed. And you sound pretty buzzing now about it, but there must have been some very dark times where you wouldn't, where do I go from here?
Yeah, those first 3-4 weeks until I secured that contracting job. I mean, honestly, I believed in myself, and I think that is a big component of what it takes. And, there was certainly some struggles, with my wife as well, as far as, hey, what did you do, kind of a thing, right? Yeah. You left a job, you're making $150,000 with a health insurance. Everything is covered. We don't have to think about it. We got a lot of expenses, so on and so forth. So yeah, it really is scary in many ways. But I was able to have faith in myself to say, okay, I'm going to get that contracting gig, and I will grow this thing, no problem. And now, looking back at it, it was fine, but at the time it was definitely scary.
Well, you say it's fine. Hindsight is a beautiful thing, but you made some very courageous moves, and you spoke about the importance of your network. When you do set out on your own, that's not a time to be isolated and alone. You've got to, I read a book called Build Your Reputation, and I'm talking about career capital.
Oh yeah.
Which is having things like a good name, and you're on the radars of the right people, and you've got some advocates and some champions. You've got a strong network. You've got strong ideas, things that you want to do. And you can't go from an employed to a self-employed role without career capital. So you had some of that, and you were building that up knowing that you were going to make the change.
Yeah. And let me give you a great example of this, because I think that your book that you wrote is phenomenal. And what you're saying is exactly true. Treat people with kindness, be, humble, and be nice to everybody. Like I said, I was taking care of those staff. People saw that. And I'll give you a great example. When I was in Miami, I was technically in the Boca Raton office of Ernst & Young, splitting my time between those two. One of the people who happened to sit next to me, completely different group, I never worked with him. He went on to become the managing partner of a large firm out of North Carolina. So not even, I'm in New Jersey, he's in North Carolina. We were crossing paths in Florida, but he saw I was taking good care of my staff. He knew I was kind of, like a fun person to be around, a nice guy. We went out to lunch a couple times. He sent me work to me, and my firm, I'm so thankful, incredibly, blessed that even happened. I said to him, I said, what, you're in North Carolina, I'm in New Jersey. We got at least 5 states between us. Why me? And he was like, I don't know. I figured, I saw your posts on LinkedIn and I like what you're doing and I liked you. And that is exactly what you're talking about in the brand reputation that, what you just described. It's perfect. And in many other examples that I have of that exact moment that you said.
Well, the two fundamentals of reputation are the same as the two fundamentals for trust. It's character and competence.
Yep.
Character is, are you trustworthy? Are you likable? Can people be vulnerable about you? Do they feel like you have their best interests at heart? Are you a good person? Do you have integrity? All of that speaks to trust and reputation, but also competence. You can be the most likable person in the world, but if you're lousy at what you do, so you've got to have that skill, the expertise, the knowledge, you've got to be technically competent. You put those two together, you start to build trust and a reputation, don't you? You must have found that.
Absolutely. And something that, in the podcast that I had, I had one guest who said something that really resonated with me. I always believed in that, but when he said it, it was like unreal. So it said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
That was Zig Ziglar, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but the guy said it. I didn't know I didn't know if he created himself, but it stuck with me so much because that's just how I am. You care about people, you show your care, and they will reciprocate. They will come back to you. I always say this in every single time someone asks me, don't worry about the dollar that's in front of you today. Don't step over people. Don't go aggressively, at that dollar. That's how I treat my whole marketing approach. I don't care, if I give you some piece of advice right now, contrary to popular belief that you should hire me first because I'm going to help you save money. I don't care. I gave an advice over this past week and I was at a trade show, multimillionaires, walking around there. It was a aircraft trade show. I love aircrafts, by the way, in aviation. But one of the folks that was at the show, this guy owns $50 million of real estate, 50. And there's a strategy here called cost segregation where you can kind of get a huge benefit. I asked him, hey, are you doing that? He said, what is that?
All right.
That's, by the way, in his scenario, it's going to translate to about a $3 million refund cash into his pocket that he has not used up in all those years. Many people would say, oh, hire him first, get an engagement letter signed and then tell him about this. No, I'm going to tell him, I'm going to add the value at every step of the way. And yeah, you know what, maybe it'll take him a day or two or a week or a year, but he'll be here. Even if he goes to his accountant, which is what I told him, go to your accountant. I don't care if you hire me today and tell him about the strategy because you need this today. And, that's my take.
How long have you been on your own now then, Yuri?
August 2021. So
okay.
Just a little over a year.
Just over a year. All right. So you're into the game. It's important to market yourself. You've got to keep building your network, keeping it fresh. Tell us about the plan, the end goals for Yuri Kapilovich.
Yeah, that's great. Short term. So I'll tell you right now, short term for me is to grow monthly revenues to a point where I can hire someone full time for the sheer purpose of I don't want to do bookkeeping anymore. And I'd rather pay someone a very nice high salary, let them have all those benefits and, work under 40 hours a week, enjoy their lives, but just take care of the clients, which I'm sure they would, to free up my time to go and, share this kind of background that I spoke to you about with the firms, targeting those upper level senior managers who are about to be partners who love the accounting industry, but have been kind of abused as they were going up in the ranks, and change that perspective. If I could come in there and do some sort of consulting to help these younger partners see the vision and retrain their brain from, the same abuse they incurred, to refresh that, take care of your staff and really take care of them, really have a good culture, not the gimmick that I see all over the LinkedIn world. We have great culture, now really make it a great culture. And you're going to see that you're not going to have a CPA pipeline problem. Yeah. And you're going to reinstill that enjoyment in the industry that folks had before, and they're going to start joining back up again in droves. It does do one of these, you have a cyclical motion there.
Yeah, this is a wonderful story. We'll put your contact details, LinkedIn profile in the show notes so people can reach out to you. You're pretty active on LinkedIn, we know. Would you leave us with a message for the accountants listening that are in employed situations right now, but they're resonating with your story? they're feeling the pain, they recognize elements of the journey that you've been through. They've perhaps not got the timing right or the courage or the career capital to yet jump ship, but maybe they don't even need to. There are options to change things with where they are. But just round this whole story with some words of encouragement for those people that have been where you are.
Yeah, gladly. Number one thing to me that I say with somebody who is still in the industry is liking it somewhat, but just, having those battles and isn't sure that those hours they're liking it, set boundaries. And for yourself, look at yourself and say you're 2 years into your career, look at yourself and say, or 3 or whatever, look and say, what am I willing to work? What hours am I efficient in? And what am I not willing to do? And stop there. And use that to be, as your mantra. I was doing that in all the firms I was at. I don't care about your, minimum hours. I don't care about your maximum hours. I don't care what my, coworkers doing over here. I don't care. I myself am not going to work more than 60 hours. Now, yeah, towards literally the last 2 weeks, fine. We just got to get it done sometimes and help out. But sorry about that. But, I don't care about that. I just care about my own well-being, my own family and everything like that, and my efficiencies. So my point is, set those boundaries. If it's 60 hours, it's 60 hours. And if you just keep being pushed towards that, say, listen, I'm not taking on any more work. And that was part of the battling that I was telling you about. I would say, no, I'm not doing it. And they would say, what do you mean you're saying no? And literally, my mentality is fire me. I really don't care, because I'm just going to find another job. So, have those mentalities, have those boundaries for yourself, and you will be happier in the industry. And if you do get fired, you just message me on LinkedIn. I'll find you a new job, but with no problem with my connections. But more importantly, you can always find a new job. There's a CPA shortage out there. There's an accountancy shortage out there. You will find something you enjoy in the industry. It is a good industry, and just stick out with it. Like you say, you'll build your brand reputation, your career reputation.
Yuri Kapilovich, that's been inspiring. Thanks so much for your time and your insights today. It's been great hearing your story.